Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Survival and Defense series Survival Pod. My name is Wimperman, and I am the Chief Designer, Chief Builder, Chief Architect, and Chief Dumbass behind the Survival Pod Update project. Now, before I take you through the features of this static structure, I will first show you the original vehicle. Now, I say vehicle in air quotes because they're not vehicles, they're static, or at least the new ones are. And there are actually two of them, uniquely. So the originals are over here. Now, as you can see, these actually have thrusters and hover engines on them. The idea was that when you spawn these in, if you need to move them around, for example, it's on slightly uneven ground, or once you've been living in it a while you decide you want to take it to a different planet and you need to load it up onto a ship and then off it again at the other end, I wanted you to be able to do that. But I've decided since then, as I've been refitting all of my old stuff, that actually I think it's better to force people who want to move the things to put thrusters and hover engines and or ground repulsors on them in order to move them, rather than having all that stuff on it and forcing all the other people who don't want to move them around to take it all off and have the blueprint be more expensive than it needs to be. So that's why the new one doesn't have any on it. So these were built before the game was released, and I've just finally got round to refitting them, updating them. So these were built before there was CPU and before there was weights and volumes and all of that stuff. You will also notice some other differences based on what the game was like back then compared to now. For example, the doors were a higher level unlock than the shutters previously, so that's why this version only has shutters and not doors. So the story behind these two is that this was the survival pod and that this was the hostile environment survival pod. Now, the survival pod was all steel, and then the hostile environment one was all hardened steel. And as you can see, it has a personal barricade around the base for you to take cover behind as you help the turrets fight the drones and the Zirax and the Raptors and stuff. But I've decided that I only want one rather than two, although technically I've now got two because I also have this over here, and this is a new build. It's the Survival Hub, which is already on the workshop, and this is basically an open air version of the Survival Pod. Actually, it's a variant of this, but it, like I said, it's open to the environment, and it doesn't also have the personal barricade around it. So technically, I do sort of have the two, but that wasn't the intention, really. But I thought it would be nice to have one that was open to the environment in case you're in a nice breathable atmosphere like this. So the interior of the new one is going to be similar except without the blue. So the colour scheme of both of these actually was based on the original portable constructor, which actually had some blue on it, whereas now, if I can actually find it, it's in this. No, this is weapons. I want devices. It's on the first page somewhere there. So other than the blue light at the top, that's not what I'm talking about. So it did originally have some blue on it. Now I can't remember whether it was this dark grey that was the blue and then this light grey was the same light grey, or whether it was the other way round. This light grey was the blue and then the dark grey was always the dark grey. I can't remember now. But the colour schemes for all of the survival and defence stuff was all based on that. Anything else I want to mention of this? So, as you can see, the survival pod has a sort of a cabinet on the front. I use front loosely, but front. And the hostile environment one has the same little cabinet with the same equipment in it, and I've done the same on the new one. So now that we've talked about those old builds, let me take you through the features of the new survival pod, and that'll start with its role and task equipment. It's going to be slightly hard to talk about. So its role is a survival shelter. I mean, I call that one a workshop as well. It's funny because my brain says this isn't a workshop because it's enclosed. I don't know why, but I suppose it could be a workshop too. And the equipment it uses to fulfill that task is it has an airtight interior with a large cargo container in the middle. It does actually have a pretend make-believe bathroom and bed, which I will show you when I take you through the interior. And of course it's got all of the survival equipment that you would want, especially when you're just starting out. So an O2 station, some fridges, an armor locker. There is constructors in this corner, I will show you when I go in. There's also a clone chamber and a medic station. Alright, so that's all the equipment it uses to help you survive while you're in the pod, surviving in the survival pod. Next then, I'll take you through its power, fuel and air. Now most of this is in the roof space. So if we go in through here, we'll see the ceiling of the interior has some shutters in it. And if we go in through any of the shutters, actually, it will take you through into the roof space. Here we go. So power, fuel and air. There's the power. We have a single large generator. The fuel is over here. We have, if I can get up into the block, there we go, 4 of the large fuel tanks. Air, we have 2 O2 tanks in the roof space, plus another 2 on the top and bottom of the internal O2 station. There's 2 ventilators and another O2 station in the exterior cabinet job thing. Next then, I'll talk about its weapons, defences and construction. Well, as you can see, it comes armed. It has 5 turrets, 4 Gatling turrets and a rocket turret. I'm pretty sure it was a couple of days ago now. Yeah, all general purpose. So they're all set to general purpose targeting parameters. And this is the targeting parameters that I consider general purpose. It's basically ground troops, infantry and predators, including hostile fauna. And then it's also drones and small grids, and the weapons of those small grids is my general purpose setup. Defences, well, it has no shields. It does have some armour if you consider, in fact yes, I will consider the personal barricade around the outside armour, but that's all steel. And the rest of the construction is also mostly steel, especially the exterior body. Yep. And then there is some carbon substrate, but that is the floor, inside, and the ceiling. Or at least the bits of the ceiling that aren't shutters. Is that carbon? Yeah, that's carbon composite as well. Okay, so that's the end of that segment. Let's get rid of that for a second. Next, let's talk about its resource gathering, production and storage. Well, I'm sure you can gather, being a static structure, it has no resource gathering. Production-wise, it does come stock with 2 constructors over here in this corner. Storage, it has a large cargo box in the center, which is just over 5,000 SU. It also has a just over 1,000 SU container underneath the constructors, which is actually set to its output. Yep, stop cargo container. Oh no, yes, right. So the big one in the middle that forms the pillar, the central pillar, is its input, and then that 1000 one that I was talking about here is the output. So yes, I was right, it is output, it's just I forgot that was the input. Anyway, on the outside there is another one here. This is a 750. Just so you've got access to something to put something in from the outside. There are also 4 fridges, which of course, as with all of my builds, they come turned off by default. So there's 2 here for any perishable foods, or maybe you could do foods and seeds or ingredients for other stuff, medicines maybe. Then there's one over in the medical corner for your perishable medicines, and then there is another one on the outside for you to access from out here. There is also a couple of armor lockers you've probably seen. There's one in this cabinet, and then there's 2 on the inside, there and there. And there are 2 large, 1, 2, and 3 small, 1, 2, 3 cargo boxes. Now, the idea of these is for non-perishable medicines, your tools and weapons and stuff maybe, and some other non-perishable foods up here, maybe ration packs and such. Right, the next segment then, because that is all of that, is its interior layout and any remaining devices. So, we've been inside a few times, but let's have a proper walk around. Whee! So, you can tell which is the front based on, front air quotes again loosely, just like, I've lost them over there, because it's round, there isn't really a front, but of course there actually is. The game considers one side a front. So, the rocket turret points towards the front, and this exterior cabinet is on the front. As you can see, some of the other remaining devices is the healing station that's in the cabinet. That's one of them. So there's 3 doors, one on 3 of the sides. The 4th side is taken up by the exterior cabinet. So we'll be coming through here. We have the O2 station and a little eating area with a passenger seat, so you can role play that. There is an interior lights switch in here, so you can keep them on. The lights are on a sensor. The interior lights. Well, in fact, all of the lights are. There's the sensor that controls the interior lights. Am I going to be able to get out? Yeah, there we go. So if you want to, for example, you get in the seat, it'll turn them off because you're no longer in the sensor field. So if you want to leave them on, I've put a little a little switch next to the seat. Off. Thank you. Here we have the pretend make-believe bed with 2 switches, just in case you need to get up in the night and turn on the turrets. That's next to the bed. Now, of course, you can turn the turrets with turn on the turrets with a device group shortcut, which I will cover more later on. But in case you need to turn it on quickly, you can do that there. Bye. Then there's the blackout shutters. These are basically curtains. Now, if it's night time and you turn the lights off, So the originals actually had a light switch rather than a sensor, so you could make it dark in here. But that's the idea. You can make it dark at night time. And it did previously. In this corner we have a pretend make-believe bathroom with a pretend make-believe toilet, a sink and a shower. Now if we go out through this door, we will actually see there is a pretend make-believe water tank and a pretend make-believe septic tank, a waste tank on the structure, the survival pod. There we go. Of course, it's all nonsense, but there you go. This corner is the medical corner that also has the clone chamber and the medic station, as I did mention earlier on, but I was outside not showing it. And then this corner we've already seen has the constructors. And as you saw earlier, the roof space is part of the interior layout with everything else. So the remaining devices now after that, well, I mean, you just saw the T2 CPU extender there, but I was going to cover that in the CPU section. So, ammo. Why do I always forget the ammo? It's even written down. Right, so there's the Wi-Fi there. We also have a 1000K, a 1K or a 1000 SU ammo container up here. And anything else for devices? Nope, that's it. Yes. Okay, next then I shall cover its shortcuts and signals. So the first device group shortcut is the turrets. Loud. The next one down is production, and that turns on and off both the constructors. It'll obviously turn... Oh, and because it's a device group, if you put other constructors in here and you put them in the production device group, it will turn that off as well, obviously. Fridges, so you can turn them all on and off all together if you need to. The next one, most of my builds have a ventilator switch, at least all the ones that are airtight, and that's because... Oh, I forgot to show that this isn't actually airtight in the power, fuel and air bit. So, as I say in all of my tours, if you turn the oxygen off, the power left won't change because it doesn't actually turn the ventilators off. But if you keep an eye on that figure, it will go up with the ventilator switch. Now, I normally like to prove that my airtight builds are airtight, so there you go, there's all the little blue shapes. Okay then, on to the signals. As usual with my builds, the first one is power save. Now turning the power save on in here will turn off the Wi-Fi, and it'll turn off all of the motion sensors and switches, and therefore also all of the labels here, the LCD projectors. There we go. I think that's everything it turns off. Yep, pretty sure it is. The next signal, the interior lights and the exterior lights, so you can turn them on and leave them on if you like, so that it's not controlled by the motion sensor. And the final one is the area floods. The area floodlights, so these are the little lights underneath the perimeter turrets, I suppose you can call them. Yeah, so that's the last of that bit then. The next bit, the last bit actually, is the CPU and the upgrading. So it's, as you saw earlier, a tier 2 CPU structure, and it's very nearly at the limit. 11,972 of the 12,000 that you are allowed. The core is located in the very center of the floor. You can see it from underneath. Shush. And upgrading wise, so you are free to do whatever you want with this, of course. There isn't really much in the way of a upgrade path, although there is some designated slots up here. So here's some slots for some more CPU, and you can put some more power generators over here. Is that what it is? There's a W missing. And I've already replaced it twice, right? Watch this. Watch this. Right. So that's supposed to say power, to let you know to put power here. And then I keep noticing this line is missing. So I then go to put that back. So that's what it is. I put the line up here and it removes the W. You put a W down here, it removes the line. Because they're on different pages of the symbol thing. Oh well. I'm sorry, you're going to have to figure out what per means. P-R. Because it is actually power. Oh, for Pete's sake. Oh well. But anyway, so there's a kind of slot earmarked for more generators there. You can fill this area with more. I would suggest putting the shield generator there, and then the pentaxid tank there, maybe, or even there, and then you can have more ammo, possibly. And then, of course, there's still plenty of space up here. So, more fuel over here. Maybe more O2. Yeah, plenty of room. And actually, as you can see from the crosshair there is some container extensions in the ceiling. And actually in the floor. It's around the core. Can I get into the core? There we go. So, you can actually put more container extensions in the floor and in the ceiling if you wish to make that central pillar cargo container bigger. Anything? Oh yes, turrets. So this central turret, actually I need to use air. So if you remove it and the blocks around it, I have pre-painted underneath it, so that you can actually fit, 3 more once you've taken up the one and you can put it back. But yeah, there is space up here actually for 4 turrets, but I put one in the center stock. But once you pick that up, you can replace it in one of those 4 slots and then fill the other 3. Yeah, that'll work. There we go. So it'll look a bit like that, I suppose. And if you can be bothered, actually, you could even take up the blocks around it here, break into the roof space and put retractable turrets if you wish. Right, so that'll be the end of the tour. I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have. If you want to know what these green pipes are, by the way, these are supposed to be ammo tubes. Right, so that'll be the end of the tour. Thank you very much for taking an interest in the new survival pod. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I'll see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.